Good morning, Santa Clarita. Welcome in. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. And I decided during the commercial break that when I grow up, I want to be a Russian oligarch. That sounds cool. I just want to introduce myself at parties as a Russian oligarch. That'd be awesome. If you're new to our show, Eye on the Valley, you're wondering, what in the heck is this guy doing? Well, let me tell you, our show, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you by SCVi and iLead Schools. We are a network of charter schools with campuses in Castaic, Agua Dulce, Lancaster. We've got a fully accredited online school. That's TK through 12, you better believe it. And a burgeoning homeschool program, iLead Exploration. You can visit us at iLeadschools.org for information on any of our schools, virtual, classroom-based, or hybrid. And that's iLeadschools.org. Check us out for information on how your child, TK through 12th grade, can get a free, excellent public education at any one of our charter schools. So, we've got our eye on education here in Santa Clarita and across the nation. But like our show says, we keep our eye on the valley as well, bringing you everything that you need to know about what's what here in the valley. And, we do so while trying to bring a smile to your face, because what better way to ease into a Friday morning than with a warm cup of coffee and a nice little giggle and just a sigh and a wonderment of, what are we going to do this weekend? What are you doing this weekend? I know what I'm doing this weekend. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later on because I'm self-important like that. But make sure you are smiling, because you know what? Did you know smiling actually improves your health? It is true. It is true. Smiling makes you healthier, stronger, more optimistic. So smile with us for a little bit, because we've got a great show for you. Coming up in just a moment, we've got Megan Tapia from SCVi Charter School. She's a long-timer at SCVi and just doing amazing things all over the place. She'll talk to us about SCVi's Dual Language Immersion program and some of the other innovative ways that they're teaching kids. Again, TK through 12, right here at SCVi, Santa Clarita's first classroom-based, free, did I say free, public charter school. And then we're going to talk to CPA. Help me out, Andrew. Mark, is it Guirguis?
You got it. Yeah.
Guirguis. All right, Mark Guirguis. He's a great guy. I just always flub his last name. It's a little complex for me. But Mark's going to come in. There's a new law out there that is going to be affecting a lot of businesses, and many of you don't even know about it yet, but it's kicking in January 1st. So we're going to get Mark in here. He's going to explain it to us and what you need to do to protect yourself and your business. And then in hour number 2, there's no fall off at all in hour number 2. In fact, I think our guest is going to be able to keep his own. We've got your senator, your state senator, Scott Wilk, coming in. He's always the busiest legislator in Sacramento, but he's taken time out to talk to us today in hour number 2. We'll ask him about crime, education, the economy, everything else affecting you and yours in and around town. And then as we do, we will wrap the show with fun and trivia with Big T. A busy show today, gosh. You know, if you remember last time Senator Wilk was here, we had quite the controversy with Senator Wilk. Big T got himself into some hot water. In fact, you know what? I don't even know if the senator's going to want to stick around and play with Big T this time. We'll have to check it out. We'll ask nicely. But it's going to be fun. It'll be interesting, a little touch and go from time to time maybe. But it's going to be an exciting 2 hours. You're not going to want to miss a minute of it. So let's go ahead and get right to it. As I said, my first guest is Megan Tapia, a local girl growing up here in Santa Clarita. Megan attended Canyon High School before getting her degree in education from the University of La Verne. And shortly thereafter, she discovered and fell in love with a little charter school up the road. That's right, SCVi, your free public charter school option, TK through 12th grade. Megan taught kindergarten until getting the administrative call, I believe, last year. She has a passion for teaching kids to read and loves the beach, but this week has been a rough one for her. So be patient with Megan. She's just gone back to work after a little bit of a maternity leave, leaving her beautiful 4-month-old daughter at Grandma's house this morning. So with everything going on, we're excited to have her here in the studio with us. Megan, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so glad to have you, Megan. So, Megan, SCVi has been around for 15 years now. Can you believe it's been 15 years? So it's amazing to me still as I bump around town and I run into people and I'm talking about our fabulous little school, that some people, for example, did you realize not everyone knows that we are a free TK through 12th grade charter school? You know, people say, really? How much does that school cost?
Yeah.
I said, no, charter school, free. That means your child, Megan, once she's old enough, can attend our school completely free, no charge.
Yeah.
From transitional kindergarten, from the time she's 4.5, all the way through high school graduation. Megan, you and I both grew up in Santa Clarita in a time where we had to attend at least 3 schools if we wanted a public education. Yeah. How does it feel to think that your daughter might only attend one school until she reaches college?
I mean, it's a really cool experience. I mean, even with teaching kindergarten, I get to see them at the very beginning, and then if they stay through high school, it's super cool because I still have like 9th graders coming up to me, and they're not too cool for their kindergarten teachers.
Right? And do you remind them in front of their friends that you used to wipe their nose?
Yeah, absolutely.
Teach them to tie their shoe. That is so awesome. Megan, because folks sometimes forget or don't realize who we are and what we do, I think I'm going to make it my goal to mention that not only are we free, but we're TK through 12, public charter school, as many times as possible during your interview.
Okay.
Okay. So Megan, like I said, I think you've spent your entire education career with SCVi. Is that right?
Yes.
So how did you come to find our completely free public charter school and then join the team?
TK through 12.
TK through 12, yeah.
So it's kind of a funny story, I guess. My dad he's a marketer, and he, put himself out in the Santa Clarita Valley, and he came across Amber Raskin, who had this new school, and she wanted to bring him on. And he took the tour and did all the, seeing the campus and how he was going to market it and all that. And I was in my teacher program at the time.
Right.
And he was like, hey, you should go check out this school. I think it's aligned to what, you want to do. Because I liked the idea of teaching, but I feel like it had just kind of gotten really boring, to be honest with you.
Whoa.
It just seemed really, I don't know. It seemed very mechanical. So SCVi was... I went and took the tour and did the thing, and I just fell in love with it. It was the kids were having so much fun, and they were in these open spaces, and it was just something that I thought I could really be a part of.
Yeah. I've got to tell you, Megan, it's been 28 years for me, and the teaching profession has never been boring.
Yeah.
It's been rough. It's been want to pluck my eyelashes out sometimes, but never boring, and also incredibly richly rewarding. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
At SCVi and our iLead schools, I think as a professional, I always felt like I was free to do what I knew was right for kids, and they're thriving because of it. Now, most recently, you've been leading the kindergarten team.
Yes.
Because after all, SCVi offers transitional kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Can you let us know why you love working with the littles? Because I got to tell you, I have taught 3rd grade through high school, love every grade. I'm one of those kind of twisted people that really loved middle school, teaching middle schoolers. But the only thing on this planet that I'm afraid of is kindergartners and grasshoppers. So what is it about the littles that you love so much?
They're so fun, and they just come in with such an open mind, and they're excited to be there. Like in the teacher program, they always talk about, you gotta have this buy-in, and you gotta get the kids on your side, and get them excited about school. There's none of that with kindergarten. They're just excited to be there. Like, they just want to hang out, and they're just so innocent, and it's just so much fun. Everything's new, and they're excited, and I love reading and teaching them how to read, and that's a huge part of kindergarten. So that's really cool to see them read for the first time, and just to see all the magic through their eyes is really exciting. Yeah.
That is cool. That's beautiful. And that's
love it.
kind of like that selfish warm fuzzy that we get into teaching for, is to watch those light bulbs go off.
Yeah, totally.
That is really cool. Lots of light bulb moments in kindergarten, I guess.
Yes.
Now at SCVi, there are 2 free options for families who want to enroll in kindergarten, right? So what are the options that families have? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there's recently we've launched the Dual Language Immersion program.
Mm-hmm.
So a child can go into an English only option kindergarten or the dual language kindergarten. And it kind of started as an experiment. We started it during COVID, And it just kind of took off. We had so much interest in the Valley of, people wanting to get their kids into a bilingual program, even if they didn't speak Spanish at home.
Okay.
They wanted that experience for their kids, which is so great. Because for me, I wasn't exposed to Spanish until I was in high school. And at that point, it's like kind of too late. I struggled the whole time. So.
Right. So I do have to tell you, there's hope. I actually had dinner with my friend Art last night. Art learned to speak Spanish in his 70s.
Okay. So I can still get there.
Right. It does. And I have to tell you, as a bilingual educator, it is biologically harder later in life. So it makes sense that we're teaching our kids early on. So tell us a little bit about the program. What does it look like? Because as you said, it's not just for kids who already speak Spanish. It's kids that are learning Spanish as well, as well as kids that are learning English.
Right.
So what's the program look like?
So, it's open for any student, whether they speak Spanish at home or not. Like I said, I teach it and I don't speak a lick of Spanish, so I get to learn with them, which is exciting.
Love that.
It's kind of changed through the years that we started it during COVID, and it kind of had its growing pains. We were trying to figure out what looked best and how it worked best. But for kindergarten, we found this cool kind of balance of, we would teach half day English, half day Spanish. And they're fully immersed into Spanish. The teacher speaks fully Spanish to them and they kind of have to figure it out. And they do really well with it. I thought this is going to be so hard for them and they're just going to end up getting frustrated. But they love it and they grasp it so quickly. They're like little sponges. So it's really cool that, they get to have that. They get the kind of foundation in English first, so they have that to kind of go off of.
So and then they're developing the content knowledge.
Right.
Okay.
So they get all that in English, and then they get it in Spanish later, and it kind of they're able to put the puzzle pieces together. And then it works for our Spanish-only students too, who are learning English.
Sure.
So it kind of does the reversal of that, and it's been really successful. They've been amazing.
Yeah, and studies bear it out. The research is there. It really is helpful for kids in so many different ways, and including into high school and adulthood.
Yes.
Learning two different systems. Kids realize that there are more than one way to attack something, more than one way to express yourself, and it's just so beneficial in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And that dual language immersion program. That's free, just like the rest of our public schooling at SCVi. I got to get it out there, Megan. So you mentioned that you're still learning Spanish yourself.
Yes.
So you're not the one providing the Spanish instruction. Who does that?
I'm not. We actually work with I forget the exact name of it, so I apologize, but the Ministry of Spain to bring over teachers from Spain who teach Spanish to the kids. So it's really cool. So they're getting, even a different Spanish than maybe they've heard before. But yeah, the Spanish teachers are wonderful, and we've had such a great experience with them.
Yeah, it's an agreement that the state of California actually has with the Ministry of Education in Spain, as well as the Departamento de Educación de Mexico.
Yes.
And so we've brought educators from Spain and from Mexico. So kids are getting all those incredible perspectives. And I have to say, one of the things that impresses me most about this program is we're not getting just teachers who are bilingual. We're getting experienced, licensed teachers who are, no offense to you and the rest of your colleagues at SCVi, some of the best educators I've ever met in my life.
Hands down. The teacher I was working with last year, Patchy, it was incredible to watch him teach because he had so much experience and he had been in a classroom for so long. But then he came into this totally new environment and just slipped right in. It was so seamless. He did great.
Yeah.
And continues to.
So yeah, absolutely. And they're just thriving. It's a little bit of a cultural adjustment. I talk to them about that from time to time.
Yes.
But we talked a little bit about the benefits of a dual language immersion program and how that helps our students. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're seeing, what our kids are getting out of the program?
Yeah, other than the language, obviously they're getting that.
Yeah.
But empathy has been a huge thing because they do have a big cultural element as well.
Oh, yeah.
Within the program. So it's really cool to, see them kind of get excited and be open about learning about something that's different. For kindergartners, their world is very small.
Sure.
So it's neat for them to see wow, there's this whole other world outside of just my little space, you know? And so, the teachers bring over videos, and their family is addressing the class, and they take these little videos of like their family, and they're getting this connection with them. And it's been awesome just to see them build that, and just to have different connections, and to see people for, their differences too. It's neat.
That is beautiful.
And they're not turned off by them being different, or learning a different way than they do.
Sure, because for a kindergartner, everything's new.
Absolutely,
and so this is must be a thing apparently. And there are people that live on the other side of the ocean, and that's fantastic. So the dual language immersion program at SCVi, opening up worlds for kindergartners and beyond. That leads me to ask, what grade levels can enroll in the SCVi dual language immersion program? That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. So right now we're kindergarten through 5th.
Okay.
And then we keep trying to grow it. So last year it was just to 4th, and then this year it went to 5th. So it's hoping that we can get them in kindergarten and keep them through, the whole program, and to stay with it, and build on what they learned the year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the sky isn't the limit, but senior year is, right? Because let's remind our listeners again, SCVi is TK through 12th grade. And so the hope is that we'll be able to continue to grow the program with this cohort of kids now that are learning Spanish and English at your free public charter school, SCVi, K through 5, but hoping to continue to grow.
Right.
Megan Tapia joins us this morning. She's an educator, administrator, and one of the developers, because you spearheaded the program early on, of the dual language immersion program at SCVi Charter School. A TK through 12th grade, free public charter school. More on their amazing options after this. I am Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 on the AM side. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I'm joined this morning by Megan Tapia, educator, administrator at SCVi, where she has helped to develop the innovative dual language immersion program that is available for your child. Yes, your child. I know what they're thinking, Megan. They're thinking, Matt, how do you know it's available for my child? Because you don't know how old my child is. Doesn't matter. TK through 12th grade, we are offering a free public education at SCVi and having a little bit of fun with it this morning. But Megan, the dual language immersion program is not the only option that SCVi is providing, completely free of charge.
That's right.
As a public charter school. Another focus at SCVi is social emotional learning. And this isn't a separate program. You don't opt into or opt out of the social emotional learning program. This is something that's interwoven in everything y'all do at SCVi. Can you talk to us about what we like to call it SEL, because that's what educators do. We make acronyms so that nobody else knows what we're talking about. We speak in code. So can you tell us about what social emotional learning looks like, maybe in the younger grades? And then I can talk a little bit about what it looks like in the older grades. But can you share with our friends?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me that was so attractive when I came to SCVi was really having voice and choice and being a student-centered classroom. Mm-hmm. I think a little bit of that gets lost because there's a lot of push to, meet the standards and, get good test scores and all that stuff. But the student kind of gets lost in that sometimes, I feel like. Yeah. So, seeing these classrooms being really student-centered and, being a PBL school, a project-based learning school as well.
Cracking that code.
Right. Having their opinions heard on what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. Of course, yes, we still do have to teach the standards, but kind of letting the kids drive how we teach it sometimes is a really cool experience. It can be a little harder at times because sometimes it's like I just want to crack open a teacher edition and be like, okay, this is what I have to do. Mm-hmm. But it makes it such a better experience for them. And social emotionally, they just get this experience that's so different than what they could get at just your run-of-the-mill public school. So it's exciting. Yeah. And I mean, of course, we do like the habits and all that stuff. So, we do all that, which is fun too.
The 7 habits of highly effective people.
Yes,
We're not making them wear habits like nuns.
Right. You're right. You're right. But yeah, the student-centered approach was really what attracted me. And I think that's what keeps a lot of families is they feel like their students heard and that's important.
Yeah. And we teach kids early on things like how to express their feelings and their emotions, which is really important, right? Rather than just swallowing things until you explode like I do. And there's also, it's funny because you will hear a lot of teachers express that. You know what? I'm here to teach the 3 R's, right? I'm here to teach the kids to read, write, and do math, and all the rest of the stuff that's on the parents. But if we're not teaching the whole child, we're making it harder on ourselves to teach reading, writing, and math.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? We're teaching those key concepts of, well, public speaking, self-regulation, problem solving, personal organization. I used to teach in my 4th grade classroom. I would teach very, very important skill. I would teach the kids to shake hands, right?
Yeah.
How to grip firm but not break my hand, not give me a dead fish, right? And then we would learn. They would learn how to manage themselves, how to manage others, and truly that turns into how to lead yourself, how to lead others, how to lead a group, how to lead an organization.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, I like to tell my friends that when kids leave SCVi, yes, they are employable, but they're also going to become the employers.
Right. Oh,
right?
for sure.
Not the ones that are getting hired, but doing the hiring.
Yeah. I mean, I have other friends in teaching who they're like, oh, I'm out in public and I run into a kid and they like act like they don't see me because teachers can't exist outside of school. And I'm like, really? My kids run up to me and they want to say hi and they know how to function in the real world. And that's a huge deal nowadays.
Yeah. It's so funny. I remember this was years ago at SCVi. We had some student ambassadors that were ready to receive the mayor. The mayor came and took a tour of our campus, and we had a couple of what we call student ambassadors, and they had that cool little polo, you know.
Yes.
And both of them ended up being sick that day.
Oh,
and the mayor showed up anyways, and we grabbed a 2nd grader and said, hey, the mayor's here. You want to lead a tour? And she was like, yep, let's go. And you know what that turns into. Actually ran into one of our graduates who was at NYU. She's now graduated NYU.
Okay.
And I said, hey, how's it going? She says, it's weird. I'm in this science class. There's 200 kids in there. And every day is like a conversation between my professor and I. Everybody else is scared to talk to the professor. So then, okay. Wow. So social emotional learning, incredibly important, helping us grow not only well-educated kids, but well-rounded kids, leaders of the future. But SCVi is also known for, you mentioned it before, project-based learning. PBL.
Yes.
So, I'm starting to notice, Megan, even our school is an acronym.
Yeah, it
Santa
is.
Clarita Valley International Charter School, SCVi.
We needed another one.
Right? SCVi chooses to focus on PBL, project-based learning, rather than here's the textbook, let's memorize the material and take a quiz at the end of the week.
Right.
Can you talk to us about why that is and how that's preparing our kids?
I mean, again, it kind of goes into the student-centered thing because it's like, you know, we have to teach A, B, and C, but how we get there is very up to us and up to the students. And the perfect example I can think of is we did a farmer's market project one year. And for some reason during that time, the kids were obsessed with like the process of pickling. They wanted to know how are things pickled and how do you get a pickle and how does that work? And so we kind of did this mini project within the project where we learned about pickling, and we were actually at the same time trying to raise money for like yard equipment. So we were like at Expressival, which is an event we used to do for entrepreneurial, you know, opportunities. We were like, okay, we'll sell these pickles and we'll raise money for yard equipment. And we ended up selling $500 worth of pickles.
Get out.
Yeah. And they were
awesome.
So it was really neat to just see, you know, it was like, we as the teachers were like, okay, we have to teach them about community helpers and all this stuff. And, you know, these are the standards. But we really got to launch into something that they were passionate about within that. So, you know, PBL kind of allows for that natural, you know, child interest to kind of really lead it, which is awesome. And it gives them the opportunity to learn through successes and failures, which I think is super important, especially with kindergartners.
Yeah.
So,
and like you said, that's my 2 favorite components are we do teach the standards through a rigorous model.
Right.
But the kids get to learn them in a way that is real, right?
Yes.
You never hear at SCVi, why am I learning this?
Right.
Because the why comes before the learning.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to do this.
Right.
Okay, well, how do I do that? Ha ha.
Right.
You got to learn. And then they also get to inject so much of themselves into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you in a second, maybe what's one or two of your favorite projects that you've seen either in kindergarten or in some of the higher level grades. But to kind of illustrate what we're talking about, one of my favorites I remember was one of our 8th grade facilitators a few years ago was talking about, okay, we're going to learn about the Civil War.
Right.
And he says, I used to live in Georgia and my family reenacts, the Civil War battles. And not just that, they do a full living history where they make their own candles and they do this and that. And the kids went, well, that sounds cool. Why can't we do that? And he thought, well, wait a minute. Kind of no reason. Well, let's do it. Let's learn about, the antebellum South and the fracture of the Union by actually immersing ourselves in it. And it became a very popular project, and the kids learned quite a bit. What's one of your favorite projects you've seen over the years?
I mean, that one was incredible because it turned. I think it evolved so much over the years too, and then when we got an opportunity for like our kids to go see it, I mean, they just loved it, and it got a 5-year-old so excited for 8th grade, because they were like, I want to do that project when I'm in 8th grade, so that one was always super impressive, and it always turned out so good, and the kids were truly fully immersed in it, so it was really cool to see. I mean, there's been so many. I've been there for so long. There's so many that are so impressive. We our first year of doing dual immersion in person, we did we didn't do it not in K1, but the older grades did it, where they did like travel brochures, and they had to research So yes, they had to do the research of like a country and what their flag looks like and what their state flower, whatever.
Okay.
And they did a whole travel brochure for like whatever country they chose, and they just turned out so cute. And the kids like dressed up, and it was such a successful project. And I think Alan Kingsley would kill me if I didn't mention our fairy tales project in K1. Aww. They love doing that one too, and everybody loves to come see it because the buy-in is like so easy. They want to dress up and put on a play, and like it just turns into like, let's learn about this fairy tale, to again almost like the reenactment. Like let's totally become this fairy tale, and we're gonna turn our whole classroom into that fairy tale. And it's so cool to just see them get so excited about it. Yeah. About something that might not have excited them otherwise.
Right. Because there is, it's funny, even teachers will say sometimes, well, you just got to learn it. Yeah. Well, the whys, like I said, behind everything. Yeah. So we talked about project-based learning. Well, we spent the whole first break talking about dual language immersion. Right. Talked about project-based learning, social emotional learning. All that comes together to build what we call personalized learning. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how we truly, I used to tell my family members, no, I don't teach 2 grade levels or 1 grade level. Yeah. I teach 27 individual learners, and it's hard. Yes. But tell us how we do that.
So there's a few different things we do. A lot of times we'll do like, an assessment at the beginning, especially with kindergarten, assessment at the beginning of the year to see where they are. But truly to meet each kid where they are, we have an ILP process. There's another one. I know.
There we go. An ILP is short for
individualized learning plan. So we see, what the kids are interested in, and not only academically, but maybe something like this year I want to learn how to ride a bike. You know, and that's a home goal and something they want to do at home, and ways we can get them excited about it at school. But maybe the actual learning happens at home, but that's okay too. I mean, the homeschool connection is huge with that kind of stuff too. Yep. But getting to talk to each of them and go through these plans and build these plans with them gives them the opportunity to talk about what they want to learn. And that's really cool to be able to see. Because I know, you don't get that everywhere. And the students don't get to express like what they want to learn this year. And it's kind of funny. Some of them are almost kind of taken aback when you're like, okay, I'm going to step back as the teacher and you're going to fully tell me what you want to learn this year and how you want to learn it. And they're like, wait a second, I get to decide like what I want to learn and how I'm going to learn it. But it can, like you said, it can be difficult because then you have, 25 kids with 25 different goals, and you're like, okay, so-and-so wants to learn this and so-and-so wants to learn this. And how can I kind of piece them all together? But somehow it works out. I mean, it's really...
And it's beautiful because the only way we can do it is by truly handing the education off to the end user, the student themselves. And, it's just a beautiful thing when schools start to ask kids, who are you and who are you becoming and how can I help you get there? It really is amazing. Megan is just an amazing facilitator, educator, administrator at SCVi. To learn more about how you can enroll your child in, I don't know that we've mentioned it yet today, Megan, our free TK through 12th grade public charter school, you can go to iLeadSantaClarita.org and click on enroll now if you're convinced, or if you still want to learn a little bit more, you can schedule a tour. We're leading huge groups of tours, every couple of weeks now. I think.
And I'm there. I'll be there.
Oh,
I'm
you
back.
can meet Megan and see her cool Santa Claus pants. So again, go to iLeadSantaClarita.org to learn more, iLeadSantaClarita.org. Megan, it's amazing that you're able to do all of this transitional kindergarten all the way through 12th grade and high school, all for free. It's amazing. After all, SCVi is a TK through 12 free public charter school. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the holiday.
Thank you.
And happy baby's first Christmas.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
You stick around. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. We'll be right back on your hometown
Accidents
station.
happen.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. My next guest is Mark Guirguis. Mark is co-owner of Guirguis and Gibbs Incorporated. He's a CPA, a CMA, a CRTP, and a registered representative. After graduating, we educators, we love acronyms, Mark. So thank you very much for having all those acronyms in your title. After graduating CSUN, another acronym, with a BS, there we go again, in finance and a BA in real estate, Mark transitioned from a 5-year stint in retail banking to working internships in the investment banking field. But in 2010, Mark went back to school to earn his certification in accounting from UCLA. Go Bruins. Mark finalized his certification in accounting in late 2012 and became a certified managerial accountant in 2015. He spent time working in corporate consulting, serving the entertainment and legal industries, and Mark also holds his life and health insurance license as a certified registered tax preparer in the state of California. And today, he's got a major heads up for you business owners out there, so turn the volume up a little bit. Mark, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Hey, good to be here again, Matt.
We love having you here. You've always got so much rich and important information for our business owners. Mark, there's a new requirement by FinCEN that was passed in the Corporate Transparency Act of 2021 that's about to catch a lot of business owners by surprise, right? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So it's called the Beneficial Ownership Information Reporting Requirement.
All right.
I know, a lot of words.
It's a lot of words.
Say,
what do we need
say
to
it
do?
5 times really fast. See if you can do
thank
it.
you.
Basically, what it is FinCEN, who is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. It's an arm of the U.S. Treasury, is trying to combat trafficking, tax evasion, money laundering, those kinds of things. And they're basically creating this reporting requirement that's going to start January 1st of 2024. It's going to impact most small businesses. And the 2 terms that they like to use when it talks about this requirement is reporting company and beneficial owner.
Okay.
So a reporting company, in short and very brief,
All right.
is if your business was formed, being corporation, LLC, through the Secretary of State or any other office under U.S. law, you're probably more than likely going to, be stuck doing this requirement.
Okay.
And the other thing is they want to know who a beneficial owner is. So it's interesting because figuring out the reporting requirement, I think, is the easier part. Trying to discern who a beneficial owner is becomes difficult. Because it's not just somebody who owns a percentage of the business. And in this case, if you own more than 25%, you're automatically considered a beneficial owner. It's also somebody who can have direct or indirect control over the day-to-day operations and make those important decisions that impact the business. So It's a lot to take in, especially on a Friday morning and as
Uh-huh.
we go into the holidays. And I think the last thing people want to hear is about more tax regulation coming their way,
Sure.
especially small businesses.
Okay.
But this one's huge, and this one cannot be taken lightly at all.
Okay, and the reason that it's impacting small businesses, this requirement's been around for publicly traded businesses for a little while. Am I correct?
Well, publicly traded businesses, they're pretty much, they have a lot more transparency. They have to be for audits, for the Security Exchange Commission, those
Right.
kinds of things.
Sure.
So they're kind of exempt from this.
Oh, okay.
So anything that's like a publicly traded company, those large businesses, they're off the hook with this one.
Interesting.
If you're a nonprofit, you're off the hook.
All right.
If
It's good for us
banks,
schools.
insurance companies, those kinds of businesses are off the hook.
Interesting.
It is. And
So-
I always tell people too, if you have an inactive business, you're also not required. Because, they're the people that are probably thinking right now, well, I had this other business back in 2012. Is this going to apply to me?
Uh-huh.
It's not active. I'm no longer doing business. No, it's not going
Okay.
to.
So if I close my business, I'm good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the large publicly tradeds, the banks, the nonprofits, things like that. Is there anybody else that would be exempt? Because you're right, this really is hitting the small business specifically.
Well, right now, FinCEN put about 23 different types of businesses that are exempt. I'm pretty sure as we move forward, when this has to, the ball has to start getting rolling, I think we're probably going to add a few more. Who knows? Because different situations are going to come up that are pretty unique, I feel. And going into our first year of having to do this reporting, I just think there's going to be, I don't know, some chaos in the whole process.
Yeah. So kind of worried about that. Because as you mentioned, there are small business owners that aren't aware of this, and we're going to get to penalties and things like that in just a second. But I want to ask, so if small business owners are hearing about this for the first time, they're going to need to know how to complete the reporting requirement. So as you mentioned, it's hitting mostly small businesses. I'm just pulling one off the top of my head, and something right down the street here, like Egg Plantation, best breakfast in Santa Clarita, by the way. They would have to report. So how are they going to be able to complete? God, that was a shameless plug, wasn't it? They would have to complete this reporting requirement. How would they do that, Mark?
Well, the easiest way is going to be able to do the application online through FinCEN. Now, the portal to actually do it, in case anybody is eager to do and take a quick look and see what they have to do, it's not open until January 1st of 2024.
Interesting.
So as a practitioner, it's difficult. And as a business owner, it's difficult. Because in our practice, we're very proactive, not reactive. But I admit, I was pretty reactive when I was going through this stack 2 months ago, trying to discern this whole new requirement, popping back some Tums, trying to keep my stomach settled. And I'm going through and I'm sitting like, okay, I can't go online to be able to access a portal to see because my clients are going to have questions.
Right.
So
You've got to be prepared.
100%. So 2 months ago, what I started doing was I was being proactive. I figured out for our practice who is going to be required to do what, when, how. I already started doing that for myself to get ahead of the game.
Okay.
But the difficult part is when I have the conversations with the clients about what is happening, they're like, well, when can we start doing the application? When this, when that? I'm like, the portal is not open until January 1st, 2024. And unfortunately, until we can actually go in there and see how the workflow is, how they have it structured and set up, we're kind of flying a little blind here.
Awesome. Ain't that just like the government? So this is a little frustrating, I can imagine, and I don't own a business. I can only imagine the folks that are. So we're raising the alarm, letting folks know that this is coming. So as a business owner, what do we do? Who can I call? Where do I go to get help and to at least be prepared for when this requirement hits?
So I would hope that most accountants who have been, exposed to this, already heard about this, are reaching out to their clients, having that initial discussions. If you haven't spoken to your accountant, I urge you to give him a call and, ask, what is this requirement? Does my business have to do it? Who's going to be this beneficial owner? And all these specifics, because we're talking high level detail here right now there's so much more stuff, finite, that has to be discussed at some point. But that's always that conversation you need to have with your accountant, your financial advisor, anybody who's keeping up to date on all these regulations and rules to make sure you stay compliant. So always reach out to them if they haven't reached out to you and have this conversation.
Okay, so if I'm a business owner, I'm hoping that my accountant's already called me, and I'm listening to KHTS right now going, okay, I know about this. I've got it. My accountant and I are ready to deal with it. If they haven't, give them a call. And if, maybe it's a really small business that, I'm using a smaller service, or I do my own taxes. Can folks reach out to you? Or are you able to step in and support a new client?
100%. Our bigger concern too are all, those small businesses who handle their own books, who, maybe they file their own taxes themselves. They're not keeping up to date with these requirements.
Sure.
And those are the ones we're definitely concerned about the most, because if nobody's there to, guide them along the way with different things that are happening, and especially 2024 is going to be a crazy year for taxes with new things coming out, audits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is the one thing, if I tell people you need to be aware of now, because of how important it is, this is it.
Well, yeah, it is important, and it's something that it comes with some teeth, doesn't it? So what happens if a business does overlook this and doesn't file?
So if you don't file, and there's two parts to this. One's the initial application, and the second part is this updated application. The initial application, they have times already, based on when you open your business. It's already out there. It's straightforward. The updated one is a little bit tricky because it's a moving target. You don't have a set date on when you need to do it.
Okay.
It's dependent on updates of personal information of those owners. You moved, driver's license, you got to upload a new one. Did you get married? Did you get divorced? Those kinds of things.
Right.
And if you don't do those updates and update FinCEN with all that new information within a specific time frame, penalties, and these are civil penalties.
Sure.
Can hit about $500 a day, and there's no cap.
A day.
There's no cap.
$500 a day. Wow.
If you're found criminally liable, it'll be the civil penalties, and on top of that, you could be looking at $10,000 and or up to 2 years in prison. So this is really no joke.
Yeah.
And FinCEN doesn't mess around. Ignorance is not an excuse here.
Gosh.
You got to make sure you're talking to somebody about your small business. Make sure you're covered. Have this conversation as soon as possible.
Yeah, boy, you talk about teeth. That is really tough. And like you said, the portal's not open yet. So I tell you what, Mark, we're going to have you back come January once the portal opens, so you can tell our listeners a little bit more about it. Mark, thank you so much. I'm suspecting that this is going to hit some people pretty hard, so we want to definitely have you back. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. Stick around. Senator Scott Wilk is coming up next on your hometown station, KHTS. Oh, man, listen to that commercial to the local pub and grill. Got my mouth watering. And, they've got the deep fried pickles there, but if you're macho, you're going to try the deep fried jalapenos. Those, they'll blow your face off. Well, anyways, welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am joined now by California State Senator Scott Wilk. Born in the Antelope Valley, Scott Wilk grew up understanding the value of hard work and education. The first in his family to graduate college, he received his degree in political science from Cal State Bakersfield. An accomplished business owner and executive, Scott Wilk knows the policies that stimulate business. But a life of service is his true passion. He served on the board of directors of the Henry Mayo Hospital Foundation, on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce's Legislative Committee, as a member of the Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce and the Granada Hills Rotary Club, as well as the board at the College of the Canyons. He served in the state assembly from 2012 to 2016 and followed that up with his election to the state senate in 2016, winning re-election here in 2020. Senator Wilk, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Thank you so much, Matt. And don't tell Joe Messina I'm on your show.
Joe would never forgive us.
Haven't gone on.
I actually owe Joe a call, so that's thanks for reminding me.
He's probably still sleeping from his nighttime show, so we're probably going to get away with it.
Okay, good. So I won't call him so early. And don't worry, I won't mention you. So,
all right.
Mr. Senator, I love me some Simon Sinek. So I'm a big why guy. I always like to start with the why. You, as I mentioned in your intro, you're an entrepreneur, but you've given most of your life to public service. And anybody who knows you and your family's story knows that that's come with no small cost to you and those closest to you. Can you tell me why you chose a path in politics and public service?
Well, I think I know people have a jaded view of, quote unquote politicians, but I think it's a lot like teaching, that people feel called to it.
Yeah.
I was somebody who started reading the newspaper at 11, which is not normal. And then at 13, we went on a family vacation. I'd actually had made All-Stars for baseball, and I wanted to stay home and play ball, but you're not going to let your 13-year-old stay home by himself for 10 days. So anyway, we did like the Sacramento area and Southern Oregon, and I just remember touring the Capitol with a docent, and we're sitting in the balcony of the Senate, and I said, that's what I want to do, and that was at 13.
Yeah, wow.
And then I got there at 57.
So it does take a little time to get there, but
well, you know what? I think it's better than being an Olympic athlete. You're an Olympic athlete, and you win the gold medal at 14 years old, right, in gymnastics. And what do you do with the rest of your life?
Okay, so you think that's better to peak at 14, do you?
No, I don't think it's better to peak at 14. No, because the journey's half of it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned folks kind of have this jaded view of politicians. If anybody hangs around, and not to throw flowers at your feet, but anybody that hangs around you knows that you are not the typical politician. You truly are in Sacramento doing what you feel is right and doing what you believe is right by your constituency. But you're now kind of in the final stretch of it, aren't you? So let's take a look back a little bit on your political career, both in the Assembly and the State Senate. Can you share with us what maybe you're most proud of, and then what you still think you have to accomplish in your time left?
Yeah, well, I've worked on so in terms of like district related. I think creating the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency. It's got to be up there. Merging Newhall County Water with Castaic Lake Water Agency. It's allowed the agency to, one, cut duplicate services, two, better manage the groundwater, and so they've saved a ton of money, which I think they passed through. And the other thing I did with that I think it was the first one in the state of California that. People who were concerned about that legislation were concerned that, okay, now you're going to have the wholesaler and the retailer in one company. Mm-hmm. So I actually put in a ratepayer advocate. It was a newly created position to defend ratepayers, and that probably affects like your regular user less, but it certainly is a great asset for a small business who's disputing some of the fees that the agency charges. So that's probably it. On a bigger level, I was a part of a coalition. I was principal co-author of the TV and film tax credit. Yeah. And as you know, prior to that, we were losing a lot of TV and movies to other states. Because costs are higher here, yeah, and they had very generous incentives. So the old program was $100 million, and just a straight lottery. And when we refigured that, we came up with $333 million every year, and it's on a competitive basis. So you actually have to show that, you are producing, jobs to get that. And it's made a big difference. And to me, it's more than an economic issue. It's really a quality of life issue, because so many families are being torn apart because, the husbands, in Georgia, doing a movie, and, and the wife and kids are here. And so I'm really, happy to be part of that. Of course, at the bill signing ceremony, I got to meet Warren Beatty, so I was pumped about that.
Nice. That is awesome.
And then, and then it also affects the region. Was co-author of the aerospace tax credit, and then on my own, I got a budget writer in to actually extend it, and that allowed Northrop Grumman to secure a $65 billion contract from the federal government to build the next generation bomber. And even though it's being built up in the AV, there are tons of defense subcontractors down in the Santa Clarita Valley that've gotten, work producing parts or what have you, components for that plane. And I know it just up in the Antelope Valley, it's 6,500 jobs, and obviously has a ripple effect with all the defense subcontractors in our valley.
Fantastic. So you've been very busy, and I believe you've got 1 year left on your
last.
I'm sorry.
Last November 30th of next year.
Okay, so a little bit less than a year. So have you got anything on the bucket list? Anything in your sights for these last few months?
In terms of legislatively, we're still looking at stuff. There is one bill I'm definitely going to do, and there's been a lot of, I'm going to call it discussion, which is an understatement, in terms of parental rights and parental notification. And I think there's been an overreach in Sacramento to the side of government over parents. But, I was on the floor when we were discussing AB 1078 by Assemblyman Jackson, which actually allows the governor to come in and tell the local school boards what to do. But during that floor debate, I just noticed everybody was kind of just talking over each other. And I think we can find sweet spots that satisfies everybody. So a bill that I'm going to be introducing is going to require school districts to post on their website their sexual education curriculum.
Okay.
So parents can see it and make a decision for themselves. I'm old, but I still remember, particularly elementary school, the whole PTA telephone gossip thing.
Sure.
And I think by having that on the website, people can look at it for themselves. They don't have to hear rumors, and they can decide if it's appropriate for their child or not. So I'm going to definitely be doing that bill this year.
I like that, getting back to where school districts and parents are truly partners again. Something that you've also taken on recently, I'm looking at your website, you've taken on illegal marijuana farms. In June, you supported Assembly Bill 195. Can you talk to us about what the issue is here and what's being done about it? Didn't we legalize marijuana in California?
Yeah. So, the voters voted to legalize cannabis, and in fact, I was surprised, but it passed in my district, and it passed in every single city in my district, including Santa Clarita. So, and there was Proposition 64. There was a lot of flaws with it. And one of the biggest ones is it's overtaxed. Everybody saw this as, a tax bonanza. And what has happened, the taxes are so high that it's really allowed the black market to flourish. And what has happened, particularly in my district up in the high desert, is that the Russian Armenian gangs, the Chinese gangs, and the Mexican cartel, at one point they had 1,500 illegal grows in the Antelope Valley. And it wreaks all kinds of havoc because you could be walking and get shot. I mean, people have been killed because they've been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Sure.
And so you have that issue. They steal water. They steal water to nourish their plants. Mm-hmm. They dig these big pits and fill it full of pesticides so they can use it on their plants, and it obviously leaches into the water table. And so it's just really dangerous. In fact, I think beginning part of the year, I convinced California Attorney General Rob Bonta to come down, and And the LA County Sheriff's Department was kind enough to provide us a helicopter, and I took him up and took him on a tour, and he was like shocked by everything that's going on. And I took a bunch of video and stuff, and then I found out later I couldn't show it to anybody because they hadn't busted them yet. And the guy that was in the helicopter with us is an undercover officer. So I have these photos on my phone, but they're just sitting there. But it's really shocking video to see what's going on out there. So our former LA County Sheriff, I'm going to give him credit. He's been pretty aggressive in terms of like going out and, bulldozering these facilities. I know California Guard was involved, and then we were like running out of money, and I convinced him to go another 2 weeks. But the problem is they just get reset back up. So that's one. Number two, Gascon won't prosecute anybody, so they just get a ticket and move on. And three, to be honest with you, a lot of them are illegal immigrants that have been trafficked. So they're told, hey, we're going to bring you to Bakersfield so you can pick fruit and earn a living. And then they take them to the high desert, and they're in these grow houses, and they're prisoners.
Yeah.
So it's really a bad situation.
So you mentioned how important this is for public safety, and I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you about public safety. I'm going to hold off until the break on one of them, but you mentioned the LA County District Attorney, Gascon. He's brought some criminal justice reform to the forefront in our state. Where do we stand with what's going on that side of the public safety issue?
What do you mean, where we stand?
So our DA has stopped prosecuting certain crimes.
And unfortunately, the policies coming out of Sacramento kind of align with what Gascon wants to do. And let's be honest, they're not working. And so we'll see what happens. I sit on the Little Hoover Commission. I was appointed to that by the Senate Pro Tem.
Sure.
And that's a kind of independent agency that delves deep into issues and then brings recommendations forward for the legislature to consider. They don't have to, but to consider. And we're having a series of hearings on retail theft. Honestly, I just think we need to change Proposition 47, and we need to put people in jail when they get caught. I think it's that simple, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's frustrating for these small businesses and for consumers. You go into Walmart or whatever, and everything's behind the glass.
Right.
And you got to hit the button, and so it's ridiculous.
Yeah, things really have changed socially here in California a lot lately. And then, like I said, I mentioned public safety, and we're an education show. Senator Wilk, we're going to take a little bit of an early break, and when we get back, I want to ask you about some things that are really important to our community and to our schools, talking about gun violence and then education itself. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. I am Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley with your Senator Scott Wilk on your hometown station, KHTS. Who was that on that Slater's 50/50 commercial? That was a golden voice right there. Anyways, welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and I'm joined this morning by California State Senator Scott Wilk. Senator Wilk, thank you again for joining us this morning. We were talking about public safety prior to the commercial break, and your constituents here in Santa Clarita and throughout your district have always been highly interested in making sure that we live in as safe a community as we possibly can. But that kind of got ramped up following the events at Saugus High School in 2019. How have you and your colleagues in Sacramento been addressing issues related to public safety and gun violence?
So in terms of gun violence, we pass. I mean, these bills I vote no on, but they pass a lot of things that don't make sense and don't really make anybody safer, in my opinion.
Okay.
I have supported through the years various red flag proposals, which is like, if you're somebody and you think that there's an issue you can go to the authorities and they will go and check out that person, because really it's not the guns. It's a lot of times, it's crime and or mental health. And I think we've had 6 over my time, and I voted for 4 out of the 6. The one time when Jerry Brown was there, I voted no because I just thought it was too broad. He ended up vetoing it. Jerry Brown vetoed it. So, it was too broad. And then basically the same proposal came back under Governor Newsom, and he signed it, which is fine. I've been more concerned about the mental health aspect. I know for me, my kids went to Saugus. They were not there at that time, but they went there.
Sure.
The shooting occurred in the choir room during, zero period. My daughter was literally in that room every day of her high school career because she was in 3 choirs. And then I know one of the people that was wounded. So it's pretty personal. Mm-hmm. And then after that was interesting. So one of the teachers at Seiko, which obviously is a feeder school into Saugus,
right?
They had a serious discussion in their class, and then he said, "Hey, if you've got policy ideas, here's Senator Wilk's email. Here's Assemblywoman Smith's email, and write them with your legislative ideas." So quite a few people emailed in, and I thought they were pretty thoughtful. But I'm in committee, and my staff comes in and gives me an email from this girl who was friends with the shooter and was very depressed and says, I think I'm going to shoot myself. And they're like, "Oh, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?" I go, "Well, I'm leaving committee." So I called, Superintendent Schulman. Anyway, we got her help. So that was good. And then the teacher called me the next day and said, "Hey, she wasn't even on my list, so thank you for sharing that." And he said, "Would you like to come in and talk to the kids?" And I said, "No, but I'll come in and listen to the kids." And I did. I got to be honest with you, I was pretty depressed. They're dealing with issues and bullying and stuff that we never had to deal with. So so I've definitely voted to increase mental health on high school campuses. I've got a couple of bills right now that are sitting in the legislature. One was to create a decentralized reporting program. Honestly, the Dems have watered it down so much. I'm just not gonna move it. It's not worth my time because it's not going to do very much. And then the other one is to put a trauma kit in every single class in high schools. And the trauma kit saved one of the girls because they just happened to have a trauma kit
right
in that class. Because we got a local, as you know, we have a local nonprofit that produces those kits. And so it's sitting in the assembly. It'd be about $25 million. I know we have a $16 billion budget deficit, but we're talking about saving people's lives, and $25 billion, honestly, is budget dust. And I'm just going to keep working it and see if I can't get the funding for it. And I'm always open to any other suggestions, but it's an issue that's going to, I think, plague us for quite a while because the world, as you know, is rapidly changing.
It really is. And it's, I was talking with my previous guest, Megan Tapia, about the importance of social emotional learning. And I think that is important. Do you think that that's the way to attack the issue? Because Senator Wilk, honestly, we've been talking about this, well, gosh, for coming up on about 25 years now, it's been since the Columbine shooting. And, things aren't getting any better. As of December 4th, there have been 627 mass shootings in America this year alone. And so something just has to change. Do you think it's confronting the mental health crisis that we're having in California? Is there more to be done in terms of gun control? I know things are changing constantly. What is it going to take for us to finally kind of turn the corner on this?
I know. I mean, we already have the strictest gun control laws in the country, so I don't think it's that. I think it's mental health, but it's a societal issue, right? So it's the breakdown of the family. It's a breakdown of communities. I mean, social media is horrible. In fact, we're doing some research now I'm inclined to introduce a bill that kids would not be allowed to have their phones in the classroom. Not that I would expect that to pass this year, but somebody's got to has to start that dialogue. Mm-hmm. And these kids don't have the soft social skills that you need in a business setting. They're on their phones all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely contributes. And I think so. I don't know. It's a vortex that we're going down, and I'm not sure there's one simple solution. I think it's multiple, but I'm just one person, so I'm not sure the best way to attack it.
I do think you're right. When you and I were growing up and in school, if we were being bullied or were frustrated, insecure, whatever, 3:00 hit, that bell rang, we got to go home. And we could close the door and be safe. But with social media and kids online kind of all day, every day, you can't really close that metaphorical door and shut things out. And kids are just under such incredible stress. I think I think you hit on a point. It's really important to address the family, to address mental health, social emotional education. And we're doing that. I've been really up on my shameless plugs this morning. We're working hard at SCVi and iLead to address social emotional needs. Senator Wilk, I'm gonna shift here a little bit, and I want to talk about charter schools. You have always been a tremendous advocate for charter schools and family choice when it comes to education. What role do you believe that charter schools play in fostering innovation and improving our educational outcomes, including mental health, social emotional learning, and academics as well?
Yeah. Well, the problem with the general education system, and it's I'm not aligning any people. It's just the system. It's one size fits all, and one size fits all doesn't work. So right. I've got two kids. One was AP, one was special needs, and they learn differently. And that's the beauty of charter schools. We have all kinds of charter schools. They all use different learning models, and you can pick a program that you think will work for your child. If it doesn't work for your child, fine. You can go back to a regular school or another charter school, and they're just so much more nimble. And I really saw the advantages of charter schools during COVID. Charter schools adapt so much more quickly to moving everything online. It was a pretty stark contrast, and so I'm a big fan of charter schools. And they obviously have been, as under attack in Sacramento. California Teachers Union, which is probably the most powerful organization in the Capitol, doesn't like them. Been under constant assault, and I sit on the Senate Education Committee, and so it's just been a battle. And every time they take a little bit more freedom away from charter schools, it just really upsets me, because they're not doing what's in the best interest of students and families.
Right, and plus you have to deal with all the annoying emails and text messages from charter school advocates like me. But
it's always a pleasure getting texts from you.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. And I think the hope and the intention behind the charter school law that was passed over 3 decades ago, by the way, is that the traditional district would be collaborating with charter schools in order to create that proverbial high tide floating all boats. And speaking of collaboration, Senator Wilk, you and I were talking about it during the break. You've always been extremely transparent and open to collaborating in office with your colleagues from both parties and in both houses of the state legislature. How do you approach collaboration with your fellow legislators in order to best address the diverse needs of your constituents?
Yeah, well, so, my predecessor in the Assembly, as you know, was Cameron Smythe.
Yeah.
And the best piece of advice he gave me was try to get to yes. Not that you're always going to get to yes, because you're not, but try to get to yes. And, taking that approach has really built a lot of goodwill. And even though for most of my time in the legislature, I've been in the super minority, I've been able to accomplish things because of the goodwill that, derive from having that attitude. The other thing that I do is when I was growing up, it was a different world. Things were, more 50-50. And one of the rules was don't amend a bad bill, try to kill it. In this environment, you can't do that. So I do a lot of negotiating and making bad bills less bad, because I'd rather have you as a small business have a little bit, a little bit of, more regulation or whatever, rather than having you be completely put out of business.
Sure.
And so I do a lot of that stuff because I think it's, the responsible thing to do. And there's been academic studies and shows that I'm the most moderate person in the Senate, because I try to do that. I mean, my job is to represent my constituency as best possible. And my constituency, by the way, if you live in Santa Clarita, the rest of my district does not look like Santa Clarita. I got Santa Clarita, I got Antelope Valley, I have Victor Valley. So it's 40% Latino, 13.5% African American. More than half of my constituents are on Medi-Cal. I've got 1,060,000 constituents, and more than half of them are on Medi-Cal. So it's challenging because it's a pretty diverse district, and so if you look at my voting record, it's interesting. That's all I'm going to say. It's an interesting voting record.
I bet it can be challenging. And yes, I have looked at your voting record, but it's something, you and I were talking about. It's something that you don't hide from. You're very open and honest about who you are and what you are going to support, what you aren't. I do want to shift really quickly, if we've got a couple more minutes, to the economy. The economy's kind of in a weird space right now. So given your experience and the makeup of our community's economy, we've got a lot of small businesses and business owners here in Santa Clarita. But like you said, that's you've got half your constituents on Medi-Cal. That's an incredible stat. So what are your thoughts on fostering a business-friendly environment in California while still making sure that we can provide for the needs of those who might be struggling? And what measures have you supported, or are you supporting, in order to achieve that goal?
Well, if you want to help other people, you need to have a growing economy. Right. So whether there's jobs available for them or revenue into the government, so they can provide the necessary services. I think California's done pretty well despite Sacramento. The fact of the matter is, we do a lot of things that harm business. And the last thing we did this last session was now the fast food workers are going to get $20 an hour. Now, I started off my employment career working at a fast food restaurant. Again, it was a long time ago, but it was $1.65 an hour. But it was an entry level position, and these are not careers; these are entry level positions. And so I voted no on that, and because we're going to have $16 Happy Meals.
Right.
If you're a young family, how are you going to afford a $16 Happy Meal? And I don't get it. It's all payoffs to the unions, because the unions want to organize all these fast food restaurants, and I just think it's going to crush people. Same thing with our climate policies. I believe there's climate change and there's things that we can do to address it, but I want to address it through innovation. Yeah. And for them, climate change is salvation, and they do a lot of things and policies that don't make sense, because to them it's a religion, and we're not using sound science or common sense that's driving up costs. So I'm a little concerned about California. In fact, one of the things I'm working on right now is I get a little frustrated with this, red state, blue state argument. And, they always comparing California to Texas, and then Fox News had the debate with Newsom and DeSantis, the governor of Florida. So I've been pulling, as you know, we have a second home in Massachusetts, which is definitely a blue state, right?
Sure.
We have 40 senators in California. 8 of them are Republican. Massachusetts, they have 40 senators. 7 of them are Republican. But I've been pulling the data because I'm going to do an op-ed and maybe some social media comparing Massachusetts to California. So it's the California way, as Newsom calls it, versus blue state America. And they kick our butt in every single category. It's embarrassing. And so, I just think we need to bring common sense back. I think blue policies can work as well if they're implemented, correctly. So I don't know. I'm just a voice of one.
You are, and I'm
just doing the best I can.
And I got to say, I do care about California as well, and you're doing a great job. Is there any way over the next 10 and a half, 11 months that you can change the term limits up there in Sacramento, see if you can stick around a little bit longer? I've got faith in you, Senator.
You know what? One, I can't, and even if I could, I wouldn't. It's been 12 years, and I really think that's enough.
Okay.
You need somebody. Need somebody new. You need that energy, yeah, because over time you get a little jaded. You really can't help it. You get older. You don't have the same energy level. And of course, the prior session we had Suzette Valadares in the assembly seat, and she's run around gun ho. I thought she had a really phenomenal 2 years. And you need new blood. These people that have done it 20, 30 years. I'm not for term limits, but I think that's just way too long. So I'm happy with the 12.
All right.
Going to still be involved politically, but just
Good.
Not in elected office.
Okay, fair enough. Senator Wilk, last question. You remember, and I'm sorry, I think you remember all too well, my stupid big brother, and you remember that Mom won't let me have nice things of my own, so she makes me include him on my radio show. I'm sure you also remember that last time you were on the show, well, we had quite a bit of controversy. Despite that controversy, sir, is there any chance I can convince you to stick around and play with Big T again?
Absolutely, but there wasn't controversy. You gave the wrong data points to the question. If you had done it correctly, I would have gotten it right.
Okay, so let's not forget that was Big T that gave the wrong data points. So.
Oh yeah, I play against you. Yeah, it was Big T.
Yeah, it was his question. So despite the trouble last time, we're going to invite Big T to join us again. The senator's going to stick around for fun with Big T right after this. You stick around too. You can play with us as well. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson, and this is your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and I am joined by Senator Scott Wilk, as well as Engineer Andrew, Engineer Jen. But now it is time for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. Y'all know Big T. Big T is a longtime resident and leader of the Santa Clarita Valley. Not anymore, not anymore. It's listening for the trombone. Big T is an executive and philanthropist. He's an amazing father, husband, and community leader. He's also a man who's currently sucking up to the state senator. Here he is, everybody. He's Mom's favorite. Big T, welcome to the show.
Morning, Maddie. How you doing? Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Tony.
Big T, it's
Jen and Andrew. Andrew, I know you're as happy as me as a Dodger fan.
Oh, yes. Very happy. Very happy. Great news. Great news.
Dodgers are signing everybody. So, Big T, I know you've got some trivia for us. For those folks who are just tuning in, here are the rules. Senator, what we're going to do, Tony's got some trivia questions for us. I know you're all too familiar with this routine. Our buzzer is our name, so when you know the answer, shout out your name. But those folks playing along at home, you've got a significant advantage. You don't have to shout out your name. Just shout out the answer and see if you can beat us. But I got a feeling the senator may run away with this one today. He's a pretty smart guy. Big T, go.
Perfect. So perfect. A couple of things. We're going to mix in some music trivia this morning. So we're going to play a little bit of Name the Artist. I'll give you a couple of songs, and you name the artist. And then we'll name some lyrics and see if you can name the artist as well as the song. And then we'll have some other trivia sprinkled in there as well. But before we get started, I neglected to give Papa's pick last week, which he picked a loser. He picked Navy.
Yeah.
And So since we did not cover it on the air, he does not wear the L. But Papa's pick this week is to take Boise State and the 4 points tomorrow night in the LA Bowl.
Oh, betting against the Bruins. Oh, I hate it.
He is betting against the Bruins. That kind of hurts a little, doesn't it, Maddie?
Yeah. Gut shot.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Name the artist based on these songs. Dreams, Landslide,
Jen.
Andrew.
Rumors. I heard Jen first.
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac is correct. What
But
famous Fleetwood
Rumors
Mac-
is an album. Rumors is an album, not a song.
It's also a song.
What?
It's also a song.
No, it's not.
The senator is calling you on the accuracy of the questions.
Well, that's how.
So you didn't know the other two. He's looking.
Right out of the
That's
gate,
fine
you
for a
got
loophole
one.
because he didn't know the other two.
We're
He
just
had,
gonna,
he had inaccurate information the last time I was on here, and I lost because of that.
So you didn't know that Dreams and Landslide was a Fleetwood Mac
I
song.
did. Well, Dreams.
So
Because
what-
when I think of Dreams, I think of the number one hit by heart. So I was waiting for the second one, and Landslide. That was I knew it was Fleetwood Mac, but Jen did a great job. Good job, Jen.
Perfect.
Thank you, Senator.
she
So what
did. And
famous,
to make
what
you
famous
feel well at
Fleetwood Mac?
home. Go ahead, Tony.
What famous Fleetwood Mac song does the USC band cover?
Frogger.
Tough. Oh, Wilk. Tough.
Frogger was first.
Oh, golly. I'm going to go with Tusk.
Perfect. Tusk is correct. So name the artist based on these songs. Don't Cry, November Rain,
Jen.
Welcome to the Jungle. Jen.
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses is correct. Senator's a little slow on the buzzer.
I think it's the phones. There's a delay, yeah.
So we'll give it a
Probably is.
second.
Released in 1987, what was the name of Guns N' Roses' first album?
Wilk.
Nope.
Senator Wilk.
Appetite for Destruction.
There you go.
That is correct. Nice poll, Senator. Which American president was involved in the Watergate scandal?
Andrew.
Wilk.
Senator Wilk, then Andrew.
Richard N. Nixon.
He is not a criminal. How many presidents have been impeached?
Frogger.
Frogger.
3.
3 is correct. Can you name them?
I can. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Will you
That's all I
name
needed to
them?
So we got Trump, Clinton, and Andrew Johnson.
That is correct. Nice pull, Frogger.
Thank you very much.
World
I'm
War
taking
One
a third
began
point
with-
on that.
No, you're not taking 3 points. World War I began with the death of whom?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Archduke Ferdinand.
Yes, that is correct.
Man turned the corner and took a bullet.
Yes, he did. So who's the current Speaker of the House? Well, man, if only we had someone that was close to the situation.
No, I don't. I hate the House. I hate all of DC, to be honest with you. Speaker Johnson, you can make me name his first name?
No, you don't have to name his first name. We'll give you Speaker Johnson. That is correct.
Frogger, it's Mike.
Johnson.
It's Mike. Yeah, there we go.
I was going to call
Name
him
the
Michael.
artist. Name the artist based on these songs. Fortunate Son, Looking
Andrew.
Out My Back
Oh,
Door.
Wilk.
Andrew first.
CCR.
Cleveland's Clearwater Revival is correct.
That's easy for you to say.
How many Fogartys were there in CCR?
Frogger.
Frogger.
I think there's 2 Fogartys for every girl.
2 is the correct answer.
All right.
Okay,
right,
hey,
name
have Frogger name their first names.
Ben and Charles.
Incorrect. Senator?
John.
John, and I don't know the other one.
John and the other one. John's brother.
John and the other guy. Yeah.
John and John
Yes.
Jr.
John and the other
Tom.
Fogarty.
Tom and John are their names.
Tommy John.
Yes, Tom and John. All right, name the artist. Check the rhyme. Can I kick it? And I left my wallet in El Segundo.
Frogger.
Frogger.
Andrew.
It's not Cypress Hill, is it?
No, it is not Cypress Hill.
Andrew.
Older than that. Andrew.
A Tribe Called Quest.
That is correct. Nice pull, Andrew.
Nice.
Tribe Called Quest.
Big T, we got time for one more, buddy.
Perfect. Hello, Darkness, my old friend. And Sound of Silence.
Wilk.
Go ahead.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel is correct.
Fantastic.
I love the excitement.
Mr. Senator, you pulled out a tie with that one. You and I tied at 4.
I'm coming back next week. This was fun. I like it with everybody in. Frogger, you're a stud.
What? Can you say that one more time so we can get it on tape?
Yep, Frogger, you're a stud.
Fantastic. Love it. Senator Wilk, thank you so much. You're always so gracious with us. We appreciate it. Big T, thank you for swinging by. Also want to thank our guest, Megan Tapia from SCVi, your TK through 12 free public charter school. CPA Mark Guirguis, Senator Scott Wilk, thank you again. Producer Sarah, Engineer Jen, Engineer Andrew, Big T, and hey, thank you for listening. Remember, life is hard, but we're all here to help each other along. Be well and do good. Join us again next week and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.